meals, a cozy atmosphere, and a menu that will keep you
Touchdown, Kentucky! Touchdown! Kentucky! Victory! Kentucky!
Like, give your fans what they want, you dinguses.
She probably smokes marijuana. Bad, bad girl.
Rubbish!
There's buggers over here.
Back outside. This is the point where he always hits it. Oh! Aaron Harrison beyond belief.
We did it. We beat those British
We beat the British. Second, Cornwallis.
10 kids. You're basically pregnant for 20 years. Pregnant or breastfeeding. Just wild. Like, that sounds exhausting.
Potheads. What an adorable bunch of people.
Woodson from the gun. Play fake. Step it up. He's throwing deep down the near sideline. He's got Johnson. 20, 10, 5, touchdown! Kentucky!
Jesus, Rash, get it together.
Yeah,
It's game day. Come on.
Welcome to Kentucky Roll Call with Walker and Roush.
Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday to you. It is June 10th, 2025, and this is Kentucky Roll Call on Big X Sports Radio. Nick Roush and TJ Walker on your Tuesday, newsworthy Tuesday, and even Kentucky and Arkansas basketball to only play once in 2025-2026. The same thing we had this past season, the one game at Rupp Arena where unfortunately John Calipari came in and spanked Mark Pope and the Kentucky Wildcats. Really one of the few blemishes on an otherwise fun first season. Only played the once this year. They will only play the once next year, that game being at Arkansas. So Mark Pope, John Calipari will meet again, but not at Rupp Arena in 2025-2026, which would mean if Cal were to stay a third year at Arkansas, you'd get the home and home that year if he were to hang around the following year after this year. So, a little breaking news to start the show. Certainly not what I intended to start the show with today. I don't know if we'll even discuss it much moving forward, but that is out there from John Rothstein, Kentucky and Arkansas. One game in 2025-2026. Of course, they could always meet in the SEC tournament or the NCAA tournament, Roush, but you will not see John Calipari in Rupp Arena. I bet he's very happy about that.
It's a little annoying, but, you know, they're going to be one of the better teams in the SEC. As much as I am bring on the big dogs, I don't think we need to have these.
No, we're not using the phrase big dog today.
Oh, fair enough.
Okay.
We don't say that around here anymore. But as much as in the past you just wanted Kentucky to play only the good SEC teams twice, I'm good with that now. You know, we don't need that each and every year, because all the SEC teams are pretty darn good.
Yeah, I wish that you were playing twice. Even though that sometimes the conversation, are you going to boo or are you going to cheer? Well, that kind of got annoying at times this past year. But yeah, that was fun. I think it'd be cool to have him back again as many times as you can make it happen. But realistically, we know how the SEC schedule works. It's not shocking to see this news, and that's all right. I really want a Nashville meetup. Cal didn't care about the SEC tournament and blah, blah. I want them to meet in Nashville. I think that would be fun. I hope that happens. I'm sure it will, Roush, right? Could very well be this year. And if not this year, the longer Cal stays at Arkansas, it's just a matter of time before it does happen. So a little breaking news to start the show there regarding UK's basketball schedule. Based on what they did last year in the SEC, you knew it was going to be a very difficult SEC schedule. Only having one game at Arkansas, that is very hard. We knew that they were going to be playing in Fayetteville. You're going to play at Auburn as well. That's going to be tough. You're going to play at Texas A&M. They're looking pretty solid despite having to basically start anew down there. You're going to play the good team. You're going to play at Florida, the defending national champs. You'll have that game on the road. Mm-hmm. A lot of the best teams in the SEC, you're going to be playing at their gym. Maybe you'll get a return game and you'll get a home and home, but for the most part, you can bank on at least one game at their place. Going to make an already hard out-of-conference schedule with a loaded SEC, making it one of the most difficult schedules in all of college basketball, which will only help the Cats come Selection Sunday, assuming that they can survive that schedule, which I'm sure Roush will be able to do. We'll talk a lot about this summer, certainly into the fall. People are very, very, very excited about the basketball season, and for good reason. Not the same enthusiasm for the old pigskin.
No.
The oddball.
No, and it's been an offseason filled with seemingly one piece of bad news after another, and those were just the appetizers, Mr. Sports Talker.
Yes, the Coliseum is now on fire. I think it may be time to start panicking. Breaking yesterday, classic KRC curse after we had gotten off the air.
I know, I was actually on the air, though, doing a YouTube show when it happened, and that was... So you got to see my live reaction, and it was, yeah, that was something. That was something. Unfortunately, that whenever I'm live on the air, my immediate impulse is to, oh gosh, I got to do something with my computer here. But then I realized, dude, you're on the air. Just be on the air. And yeah, Vince Merrill leaving Kentucky for Louisville after 12 seasons in Lexington. I'm not sure exactly how you want to lay it all out, TJ, because, you know, there's obviously a bunch of different ways to go with this. But would you like my perspective first on just sort of timeline of when I was hearing things and stuff like that?
No.
Okay.
No, of course, yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Well, because I was in a tough spot. I was in a boy cried wolf sort of situation. We all know the Mike Rutherford bit, but some of that is true. Anytime there's a job opening and I report that Vince Merrill is interested in it, there's he just wants another raise, blah, 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 blah. Like, it just is immediately scoffed at. And I know that. I'm well aware of that situation. And that's why when I heard ahead of the Governor's Cup that there was some stuff between Vince Merrill and Jeff Baum at Louisville, I was like, okay. Well, that's interesting. Obviously we're not going to pull a Rex Chapman and drop it right before the game. And, in fact, I had no intentions of saying anything at all about it until the following day. I had multiple people who, I don't know if I would consider them plugged in, but, like, so much was being whispered about. It's like, okay, I have to say something now. And, Louisville fans, they laughed at it. I got mocked. And then within, 2 days, 3.
It does make me think, because in my brain, and listen, I really am not going to try to be mean. It's not going, listen, people can make fun of me for a million things, and I hope that you do. But Vince doesn't come off to me as, like, the most intellectual person in the world, which is totally fine. And you don't have to be. He's made more money than I'm ever going to see in my life. He's smart enough to make $1 million and provide good lives for himself and his family. But I just don't think he's like the smartest book guy. And there's a million typos and tweets and stuff to seem to indicate
Grown man.
that.
Yep.
Grown man. And it's no big deal. Like, that's no big deal. But it almost is like in real time when he was asked that question, and maybe I'll get the audio pulled up here just so you can see what I'm talking about or hear what I'm talking about. It's almost like his brain had to say, okay, wait, if I leave in the summer, is that technically being there for next season, or is it not being there for next season? Oh, don't worry about that. Just say yes. Just say yes. Yeah. I think his brain does that thought process in real time, and that's why he had to pause and be like, well, wait a minute. I'll be there next season, but it's not going to be until the summer that I make the move. I wonder how orchestrated this was, Roush, because you're not wrong. Going back to 2022, when Braum initially took the job at Louisville, Vince was mentioned as potentially going over with them.
Yeah, they gave it a shot then. It wasn't...
And it was legitimate, which there is no doubt about it. Roush, you mentioned the boy that cried wolf in your aspect, but it was the same with Vince. Anytime he'd have another job would be looking out, his agent would try to think, can we leverage this? Can we leverage this? So in that moment, when it was U of L and it was Braum and Cards fans were so excited, it was hard to figure out, is this real? Is this legitimate? Or is this Vince and his agent just trying to leverage more money or a better deal, whatever it may be? Because we had already seen it in 2022 a million times up to that point. And I had found out, Roush, that it actually was legitimate. Like, Vince came to Louisville and met with these people. Yeah. This wasn't just floating that stuff to get his name in the news. He almost took it.
People were, when he was doing recruiting in Louisville, there was a meetup. And a lot of folks noted online that during his recruiting trips, he was just wearing black shirts. And at the time, it's like, why is he just wearing black? What's going on here? No UK logo? And that became a thing. But that was purposeful. And there was also, they talked when Jeff was at Purdue, but Vince was like, come on, I'm not moving to West Lafayette and going to Purdue. Get real. So this isn't new, but when things didn't materialize this December during the coaching carousel time, when I got more smoke signals blowing my way, I want to say it was Wednesday of last week, maybe Thursday, something like that. Part of me scoffed because in my mind, I'm just like, what's he going to coach? What's he going to do over there? And that was my big fault in all of this, because by Sunday night, I was at the point of just like, well, is he actually going to do it or not? I don't know if he's actually going to do it or not. But it's supposed to go down this week. But I'm not saying nothing, because what even the hell are they going to get him to do over there? Well, it's be a general manager, and that's how they're able to get out of the buyout for him as a coach. And on the other part too, it's also plays to his strengths, like that makes sense. I don't know about you, TJ. I can't name too many tight ends that have developed since they got to Kentucky.
I know it's so hard to look back and talk about this stuff without it just coming off as being like borderline mean.
Yeah,
but it's just true.
Especially at this
Kentucky
point,
is
this is
not-
one of those you had to like bite your tongue because it's like the tight ends are good, but they should be so much better.
I genuinely, to my core, this isn't takey radio or just saying things to say it. To my core, I don't care about this from a loss from a UK standpoint at all. Like, really at all. First off, I want this entire staff gone after this fall anyways. And if Vince were to hang around and he wanted to hang around into the next staff as well, he would be given that. He would have been given that opportunity, and I wouldn't have made a stink about it. But I don't think I would have been selling it as like, this is great. You're keeping Vince and getting a new staff. He'll be there to show you a little continuity is a good thing, and he's a great. Like, I wouldn't be making that case. I'd probably say, all right, cool. He's hanging around. I hope he's hungry from a work standpoint, not from just a stomach standpoint, and he's ready to get back to business. But I shouldn't say we. I don't have a mouse in my pocket, but I feel like a big chunk of the UK fan base wants something new aside from Stoops in this football staff, regardless. And let's just call a spade. Vince appeared to be checked out for a few years now. Maybe that's not accurate. Maybe Roush, I talked about this on another radio show. Who was his last big recruit that he brought in? And maybe it's somebody obvious where you're like, actually, this guy was really, really good.
Well, it's funny you mention it because I've been working on a story all morning just to that point. Vince got a lot of stars early on. Dane Key was his last big one. And that was the same time he got Wandale back. So there's just not a huge – there's not this, like, significant and I think that's why the coaching staff, why there was a change in sort of power structure in that recruiting room, because it's like, well, Vince, what guys have you gotten lately? Now, that running back, they had signed until 2 days before signing day or had committed. That kid was going to be awesome. You know, like there's a lot of what ifs out there. The highest ranked player in this recruiting class was a Vince Merrill recruit, Mikael Skinner. But to your point, TJ, that is correct. There is not the star power from Vince Merrill, the high school recruiter, has dwindled. Now you have to give him credit for adapting and being more than useful in the transfer portal. But he's not the guy he once was. Now, he's still bringing in a lot of players, and that's probably the issue there. So I did the tabulations, TJ. How many players do you think he signed in 13 recruiting classes?
70?
125.
Okay.
So he averaged just under, it's like 9.8 players per class, something like that. And just using, like, we don't know what this class is going to be, obviously. So dating back to last year's class, and they're still TBD, but 111 players he signed, 34 have become starters. I'm including some portal players in that as well. Like Terry Wilson, Vince Merrill played a role in Terry Wilson getting here. I even gave him credit for Ray Davis. I'm not sure if I should or not, but that's a 30% hit rate. It's not very good. In a smaller sample size, John Sumrall, he was only here 3 years, 11 players, so about 4 players a year. Not nearly asking him to do as much heavy lifting. 5 out of 11 were starters. Many were multi-year starters in NFL draft picks. So, like, there's a reason why this push came to shove between Vince Merrill and all the people he worked with over at UK, and some of it is because he wasn't as good as he once was, and part of that is because college football changed. But really the biggest thing to me, TJ, is that, like, when you went back to all the other times where he considered other jobs, and there was legitimate interest, it came down to money, and it came down to relationships, and his relationship with Mark Stoops. And that relationship with Mark Stoops is sour. It just has. And you know what, TJ? That happens. You work with somebody for 12 years, there's going to be breakups. The longer it lasts, the uglier that breakup's going to be. And I think this day was coming at some point. And it just so happens it came in the form of Vince leaving to go join one of your biggest rivals right down the road.
Many people are wondering, what's that noise? It's a little dog. Just a little dog barking in the background. We may have that playing throughout the show today. What do you know about the relationship souring? Because I find that aspect of all this fascinating. I think he wanted to take this job I think he wanted to take it in 2022. I think he's wanted to take it every step of the way. Not because he hated UK or hated Stoops or anything like that, but because I think he just realized from a career standpoint, this door may be closing. It's been over a decade now. And here, a guy that I know, a good dude, and Jeff, that actually is true. If the relationship did break down.
It certainly did, and I am not as intimately aware of like the specifics behind it all, but there's certainly been a push-pull throughout the era there because, like, the reason why they've been so successful is because they use each other's strengths to help one another. It's been a very symbiotic relationship where Mark suffers in PR and being a hype man. Vince could do that for him. And it's especially when it came to recruit. Like, a lot of the stuff that Mark needed to be successful, Vince provided. But at the same time, like, Vince couldn't do that all on his own. He needed Stoops to be the guy to keep the whole program in order. And I think there's just a sort of a bickering old couple where there's been times of some serious strain, where one wouldn't listen to the other over certain things. And the other part of it too, TJ, is, like, it's not your traditional boss relationship. Like, they've just known each other their whole lives. So it's going to be a little bit more immature, I think. And a lot of it, I think, is over who should get more credit for what. Like, I think Stoops thinks Vince got too much credit at times, and Vince thinks he didn't get enough credit at times.
I fully anticipate on having a lot of fun at the big dog, the little dog, Vince Marrow's expense today. I couldn't care less about him leaving Kentucky to go to Louisville. I don't think it's even all that great of news for U of L unless he does want to work again and actually get into it, which I think he's kind of in cruise mode in his career, which is that's fine. He can do whatever he wants. But how little is Mark Stoops? Will that dude just not find something to be offended about or whine about? And again, this is just going off what you told me, so I could hand up, have to come back and make a correction here and just be wrong. But that dude wet his diaper because John Calipari had the audacity to say the University of Kentucky with 8 national championships was a basketball school. And he cried, and he cried, and he went to all his friends in the media to let everybody know how mad and sad and upset he was. And it was so egregious that you'd have the basketball coach defending his basketball program. And we've heard about him getting in bickering and fighting with other coaches. And the relationship went with this guy, and Liam Cohen wasn't happy with the discipline in the program, and blah, 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 blah. And all these things, I don't know what's true or what's not true. But I do know the basketball fit was true. And now I know enough people are telling me that a lifelong relationship with somebody that he grew up with had started to sour. You're just not a very pleasant dude, Mark Stoops. You don't look happy. You don't carry yourself happy. You don't seem to like where you are. Go be happy. Go find something that will make you happy. It's clearly not Kentucky football, and it hasn't been for a couple of years. It's time for something different. So don't go out this way. Just don't go out this way. You have the most wins in the history of Kentucky football. Try. Like, don't let it end this way. He's going to. This is all just wasted words. It's going exactly how I thought. Rome is burning to the ground. And that's generous to call the Mark Stoops era UK football Rome, but in all intents and purposes, pretty close to it.
And I think that brings us to the next point, which less about Mark Stoops and Vince Marrow. Who's at fault while they're leaving? Because in reality, like, can Kentucky survive with and be good without Vince Marrow? I think so. Right? Like, I don't think Like that's going to be an ultimate test. But ultimately, Stoops had already kind of made that decision that he was going in a somewhat different direction. Vince was just going to still be a part of the program. So, like, can they still have success? Sure. Well, is this going to make him even more motivated? I don't know. But the biggest thing here from any outsider looking in is this the beginning of the end? Like, is this the final straw? I think it's clear that all of the little, there was a lot of little things, TJ, and the biggest thing was just being 4-8. That's why people were mad at Mark Stoops. Now it feels like there's real, legitimate, oh God, well, what the hell is going on over there? That even the, Johnny Message Board has been saying it for a while, but now everybody is saying it and is aware of it, to where that even the most casual of casual fans are going to be turning up the heat on Mark Stoops. And I might even be putting it mildly, TJ, right? Like, because there's a lot. I think the instant reaction for a lot of folks, I don't know what it was for you, but I think for a lot of people was, well, this is the beginning of the end. It's clear now.
Well, good time to play some Billy Shrinks. This is the beginning of the end. If there's anyone around you, put your arms around a friend.
You know the words. Good job.
I don't know if I even did nail the words. That being said,
good though.
To me, I think you could just kind of see it throughout the year last year. They're like, all right, this is really different than normal Mark Stoops teams. He can have bad losses. He can have bad stretches, but you don't normally see it collapse. And if you do, you see him really engaged, trying whatever he can to keep it together. And he wasn't doing all that. And then the cherry on top to a crappy season Sunday was the Governor's Cup.
Mm-hmm.
And if you needed any more evidence that the coaching staff, along with the team, but the team was obvious, but the coaching staff was tapped out, that game, the game that for over a decade you all have been telling us how important it was, you knew. I mean, we saw it from you all saw it from us. I thought everybody was on the same page about you don't quit in the Governor's Cup. They did, and Kentucky beat them by 50, and it was a lot of fun, and Cardinal Stadium was all blue, and everybody had a blast. But Kentucky doesn't quit in that game, and Stoops rolled over as fast as he could to have his belly rubbed by Mr. Braum, and it was disgusting. Roush, a minute and 30 seconds into the game, 2 minutes into the game, a Louisville player just took the ball from a Kentucky player and said, yeah, I know that's yours. I think we'll just take that if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Actually a good play for UK. A play that would have gotten the fans on their
25
feet.
yards downfield. Exactly.
Like, all right, maybe Cats had a little juice here. And Louisville said, no, you all don't. We just want this more, quite literally, so I'm going to take it. And then it was all over from that point forward. For the final 57 minutes of the game, it was a beatdown. And did they look pissed off after the game? Did they look like that was unacceptable? No, they looked like they expected it. And they were happy that it was over and it was just time to move on from each other. And I wanted so badly then, Roush, to move on from Mark Stoops. Because you could just see it. You could see it in his face. You could see it in his eyes. The dude is done. He's still done for what it's worth. He just has a huge contract. And that's the tricky spot about all this. And I'm going to do something that a lot of people may be surprised by. I'm going to defend Mitch Barnhart when we return here on Kentucky Roll Call on Big X Sports Radio. Nick Roush, TJ Walker. It's going to be a fun show. Get your text into the text line, 502-414-1450.
Hey. Everybody quiet down. My name is Professor Prince. I'm the substitute for today. I teach, you learn. You understand? I got a video. Biology versus theology.
He's in the air. He's good. Tied with 4.1 seconds to go. McLean gets it into Miles. Up the far.
Murray State, stand up. Hoop squad, stand up. Anyone who's in the CFSB, stand up. It's time to take these questions that have been asked and get them answered. Who's gonna win the OVC and do big things? It's Murray State Racers. It's Murray State Racers. Murray State Racers. Welcome to Racers.
Sunrise with Scoops.
This is one of those things in sports.
welcome back. Kentucky Roll Call here on Big X Sports Radio. Get your text into the show, 502-414-1450. We're going to throw it over the text line here in a moment. There's a little preview of like the first, 8 words that you'll send in on the text line, and then we have to click on it to get all of it. I will say, the one that I'm kind of excited about, I'll self-identify myself as a Louisville fan in advance, ...
Oh, man.
That's a good preview on the text line. We'll get to that, but I teased something myself, Roush, regarding Mitch Barnhart, Vince Marrow.
You're backing him up because a lot of people are putting the onus on Mitch for giving both of those guys too much money.
Yeah, and the Vince money thing, I probably would agree that it was too much money. And I don't love the big contract extensions either. I'm not a big fan of that. It put Kentucky in a tough spot with John Calipari when I thought it was not necessary at that juncture. And it's put UK in an incredibly difficult spot with Mark Stoops. In just 2022, Roush, in November 2022, Mark Stoops received a raise through 2031. I disagreed with this. I think if we could go back and listen to radio shows back then, I would be on tape saying that. We do have radio shows from back then. I think I was against that. Part of the reason why is because he was already signed through 2028. This was 2022. He was already signed through 2028.
It's a long time.
What was these 3 years doing besides maybe putting you in a little bit of a tough spot? I didn't like it, but allow me to still defend Mitch Barnhart. Because Kentucky football in 2022 was tasting success.
A lot of it. 2 10-win seasons in 4 years.
They weren't cutting down the field goal post at the college football playoffs or anything like that. Is that what they do when they win the championship, Roush? I've never actually been a part of it.
I don't think so.
I think you cut down the field goal post and everybody gets a little piece of it.
Sure.
Just like in basketball.
Uh-huh.
But it was fun. We were having a good time. Things were good. And in this business, it may have been smart to let's get him tied up. And had he left for another school, he had a buyout somewhere between, I think, like $2 million to $5 million. Somewhere in that ballpark. So had he left, Kentucky would get paid. I understood Mitch extending him out from a competition standpoint. But here's where I really don't blame Mitch, because I don't like the long contracts, but I can at least understand it. But here's where I'll defend Mitch Barnhart. He never in a million years would have thought old Belly Stoops would roll over. Because who did? Like, if there's one thing that you would say about Stoops is he's a fighter, he's gritty, he's tough. Just whatever adjective you want to use, but like, that dude, he's got a chip on his shoulder, right? The Youngstown guy. Remember, he reached out to Mitch Barnhart for the UK job because he wanted it so badly.
Mm-hmm.
He's a football family guy. Winning matters to them. Their family is all they've done is win. Mike, cover your ears. It's a winning family. He had won at UK. He had seemingly made it. I cannot imagine a scenario where Mitch would say, all right, we'll give him this big contract, and 2 years later he'll wave the white flag. He'll be done. He'll be over it. I will say Mitch is a little unlucky, the way that the way that the college landscape has changed.
Yeah, the timing was terrible.
Because that neutered Mitch Barnhart, that neutered Mark Stoops. When he could get guys in for 4 years, knowing that he was going to have them, that he was going to get to develop them, he had a great thing going at Kentucky. Really, really good. That's where Kentucky was ahead of South Carolina in the league, certainly ahead of Vandy, Mizzou, Mississippi State. That's when Kentucky was healthy, is when Stoops was rolling in that current format, or in that old format. In the current format, he just can't keep up. It's just not the same to him. He's not comfortable with it. He's not comfortable bringing guys in and having to get them to learn the culture in 6 months before the season starts, 8 months before the season starts. He just it hasn't translated. The big dog's not as good as a recruiter in the transfer portal era when people can pay. Him building relationships and being buddy-buddy, again, it just does not compare to the almighty dollar. You can be friends with somebody all you want, but somebody's going to offer twice as much money. Sorry about your friendship. Got to look out for number one here. So I'll give Mitch a pass, because who could foresee Mark Stoops just quitting? And you may be listening and say, well, that's what an athletic director's job is to do. And TJ, you're the one saying you were against the big contract, and here it comes, and it's bit him in the ass. I don't like the big contracts. I can understand it going back to the 2022 climate where Kentucky was, and you'd already been so committed to this guy. What's an extra 3 years here? And it also helped Kentucky on the buyout side of things. I didn't love it. I don't agree with it. I can understand it. Nobody thought Mark Stoops was going to be such a coward baby that quit on UK football.
Coward baby is just a funny...
Well, they're talking about basketball. And Mitch even took his side on that, which I totally disagreed with. I disagreed with how that entire situation unfolded. But Mitch has been Mark's boy time and time again. He's given him everything that he's needed, seemingly. It's not Mitch's fault that the football nil isn't rolling in it like maybe Alabama and LSU and some other places in the SEC. That's not Mitch's fault. He's been totally loyal to Mark Stoops. And the first time there's been a little adversity and things have been tough, I wouldn't say the first time, but for the first time in a little while, instead of putting on his boots, getting back to work, hunkering down and trying to figure out a way to make it work, Stoops is just done. And that's why so many fans are done with him.
Yeah, but like what? So Vince leaving makes you think that he's done? What?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think Vince.
Okay.
If like things are great with UK football, Vince ain't going anywhere.
Okay. I just what you said though, like he could be hunkering down and getting to work and all of that, but like,
do we have any evidence that he's doing those things besides him not talking? Like maybe he's hunkering down and drinking more bourbon in his basement.
That's his problem, and that he doesn't understand is that he thinks that like going to work, like that like being quiet.
I'm all right with him being like it's not so much like don't come out here and just say stuff to say stuff because I'm not going to believe you probably. But get good players in the program. That'll make me happy. Like there's nothing you can say to spin around a bad team. That's fine. I mean you can try. But I'm talking more, he seems tapped out because look at everything.
Well, here's my counterpoint. And I don't know if I believe this, too. Like, some of this is just devil's advocate.
Sure.
But wouldn't doing something differently actually be a good sign? That he wants to change what happened last year in the last 3 years?
Totally, yeah. I'm right there with you. I would agree with that. But I'm not just going to blindly believe you.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. And here's the other part, too, that I wanted to make clear on our 2-hour show because a lot of what we're referring to is just the dynamics of what's going in within Stoops' program and how he believes they need to proceed moving forward. And the big change, at least I think in Vince's eye, like Vince and Eddie Grant have just butted heads a lot. And I have always been skeptical of Eddie Grant as the scapegoat in this situation. I think he's one of the many voices that are being heard in that room. Maybe he's getting a little bit more authority to sign off on guys instead of Vince. But like I don't think he's just the one scapegoat, right? Like I think it's a combination of things, and a lot of it ultimately just boils down to Vince probably feeling slighted by Mark Stoops because Stoops wasn't taking his side and letting the big dog bark, you know? Like he wasn't just letting Vince do his thing. So I think that's a lot of the reason behind it. Now, do I know if it's going to work out or not? We were talking last week about how, hey, if you're talking about continuity, like this isn't continuity. Not recruiting Kentucky and Ohio is not continuity. So, like, what exactly does that look like? I don't really know. And on top of it all, like, very hilarious on the heels of this, within 3 hours, they get a commitment from Georgia wide receiver, Prince Gene. Hilarious name, hilarious timing. And all the while, it feels like the meme of the dog in the burning house. You've got the wide receivers coach like celebrating it on social media.
Well, God bless him for still working. Like,
yeah, he at least is doing something.
Like, you still need to do it. I think we all see where this thing's heading, but you're getting paid a lot of money. You need to be doing your job. And secondly, if I'm a positional coach at Kentucky and I care about my future, but I see where things may be heading, I'm working my butt off extra hard just because that will look good for you moving forward.
Yeah.
I knew things were not going well, but I still brought in 5 commitments and blah, 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 blah. So those people still need to be working hard. Everybody still needs to be working hard. It just sucks that we've gotten to this point.
Yeah.
There's a couple different things that you had brought up that I kind of want to explore.
Okay.
Let's get to the text line first, though.
Okay.
Because they're going to
I'll start reading a text, and you can make some mental notes or even physical ones so that we don't let them slip away. Because there are some great texts here on the Big X text line, 502-414-1450. I'm just going to the Louisville fan one because I'm curious.
Yeah, we teased it. Let's go ahead and get it.
I'll self-identify myself as a Louisville fan in advance for you guys. Why isn't Mitch Barnhart getting more heat for this atrocious contract that Marrow had? I think because as much as we want to criticize Vince Marrow, especially right now, the thing that there's 2 things he did very well. One, he got hand money into Kentucky football. He's close with the Crafts, right? Like, he did a lot of wheeling and dealing in regards to financial support for the program, and buddying up with the Crafts was a big deal. I can say that Vince Marrow helped Jasper Johnson get to Kentucky. like he did a lot more stuff than just what's on the face value. And for me, the most important thing that I think he did for the program for a long time and why he got the associate head coach role, especially when a lot of the players in the program were his guys. When stuff hit the fan, when things were going wrong, they went to Vince. Like, he filtered out a lot of the bull crap from Stoops, from some of the other coaches. He was their guy. I mean, Lynn Bowden was going to quit the team in 2019. And Vince talked him out of it. Like, there was a lot of stuff like that, a lot of stories where he was putting out fires and sort of keeping this thing together. I think he kind of resented that he didn't get more credit for that. But then also, I don't know how much of that he was still doing now that the roster was less his. And also now that, like, I mean, a lot of it's just like, am I getting my checks, right? Like, and Vince wasn't the one signing the checks. So, like, I think the dynamics and his significance and importance that earned him that big salary diminished greatly, at least in that regard.
I will say regarding the contract, you got to pay people what they're seemingly worth. I'd like to think the people writing the checks, coming up with the contracts at UK, know more about that than I do. It's not my money. I was fine with what Vince was getting paid when UK football was rocking and rolling. When you look at all the salaries and you're going 4 and 8, you look at things a little bit differently. But what I would say with Vince and the contract that I'm confused about, Roush, is if you're UK, you cannot get legal jargon languaged out of your buyout. That's embarrassing.
Yeah. Well, and in fairness, at the time,
it was going to be about $500,000, close to $500,000 that Louisville could have paid UK, but at least the way the U of L folks are stating it, and it seems accurate to me, is that in his contract, they'd have to pay if he left for another college assistant job. This isn't an assistant job. He's not coaching. He's in an administrative role. How do you not have the language to say if he leaves for another university?
Yeah, just leave it open like that. Because even though, obviously, these GM positions weren't nearly as prominent at the time, he could have gone to be an administrator, an associate AD, or something like that elsewhere.
Yeah, at that point, Nick Saban had already had a million of those roles where, like, oh, you can go be a coach without being a coach. I don't know how you just would allow yourself to, like, when you're representing the University of Kentucky and you're the lawyers writing up those contracts, how do you get sidestepped like that? That's embarrassing to me. So, but I don't care. And I've actually tried to spin it as, like, if I'm a Louisville fan, how am I getting excited about a dude that I made fun of for the last decade? And really the only way I'd get super excited about is just the optics. Somebody that you all said was the best recruiter, your all's most prized assistant, We just scooped him. In which case, we'd follow it up and say, well, he was washed. He's given up. He's not the same guy that he was. You'd be more likely to find him at a steakhouse than on the recruiting trail. And I stand by that. If I was as a Kentucky fan, the loss doesn't mean much to me with the current state of the program. It means next to nothing to me. But let me ask you a couple things that are out there, Roush. Maybe you do know, maybe you don't know.
Okay.
Had Kentucky asked Vince to no longer recruit Ohio?
No, that my words got twisted there. It's just
No, I'm not saying you said that. That's out there.
Yeah, no, he just wasn't like they just haven't been recruiting Ohio. Like in some of it, like I was told, like some of it was we're prioritizing this guy instead of this guy. But for all intents and purposes, he just really wasn't a ton. And also, they're a finalist for talented quarterback from Ohio. So, no, he was not told you can't recruit Ohio anymore. But I don't think they necessarily said, we want all the Ohio guys you got. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the second thing that's out there, part of the reason the big dog wanted to leave is, and you touched on this, but not directly this angle of it, is that Stoops' right-hand man is now Eddie Gran, not the big dog. The big dog and Gran didn't see eye to eye, so he's moving on. Stoops pick Gran, basically.
Yeah. I don't think it's I don't think Eddie is the one scapegoat. But if you've heard Mark Stoops talk publicly over the last 3 years, he has said more about what Eddie Gran has done for him than what Vince Marrow has done for him. And I think a lot of that goes back to the fundraising question. And I know Big Blue Nation got nauseated by it a year ago, but Eddie Gran had been more beneficial to Mark Stoops than Vince Marrow in recent years because Eddie Gran was at least helping Mark Stoops solve his biggest problems. And Vince Marrow hadn't. It just hadn't. So while I think it's very easy for us to say that Eddie is the reason why he's out, like Eddie's doing what Mark wants, and I think a lot of other people, including Brad White, like I think there's a lot of voices in the room that Stoops just valued more. And I like comparing it to Game of Thrones, TJ, and I don't remember who the OG was, but especially like in the recent iteration of House of the Dragon where they had Otto Hightower was the longtime Hand of the King.
I love a good Game of Thrones reference.
Because like that's what Vince was. Vince was the longtime Hand of the King, and then now all of a sudden all the other people at the council table are just getting more influence over the king than the Hand.
And that's not the Hand of the King issue, for what it's worth. It's the King's issue.
Yeah, and it's his choice.
Pipe everybody down. Get everybody disciplined. Get everybody on the same page.
And you know what? Maybe he's ready to get a new hand. Right? Like maybe Mark is tired of dealing with Vince too.
And that could very much be the case. Vince thinks he's very important, and the contract suggests that he is, but he won't let you forget that, and that's okay too. I'm just over all of it. I just want something different. I don't want so much drama coming out of a coach that's won 4 games last year.
The part that I'm fascinated, TJ. Like I don't know the answer to it because, like, is this just a sign of the chaos, or was Vince Marrow the little finger the whole time? Like, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, man.
It's not. We don't have to overthink this. Vince just sees the writing on the wall. It's going to be a whole new thing next year, and let's shoot ourselves straight. Like we love UK football. We want Kentucky football to dominate national championships, cutting down the field goal post every other year. What seems more fun right now? Working for Mark Stoops in the current state of UK with the upcoming schedule and the 3.5, 4.5 win total, or working for Coach Brom at Louisville? I hate saying that, but let's just not put our heads in the sand and be dingbats about this. They have a lot more fun environment, and Kentucky right now is on fire.
Especially if you take the fandom out of the equation and you understand what the world that these coaches live in. For them, I mean, the allegiance only goes so very little. I think some of what Vince had to think about is, I don't know how old he is, but it's like, what's the career clock? What's the 5-year plan? Oh, I know his 5-year plan. Don't die. Shout out Big Daddy. But if he's going to want to coach 5 more years, do you just try to be a lifer and ride this thing out at UK and live comfortably? Or do you make one final move, make some money, and win a lot of football games? Because that's the thing over at Louisville. You can miss a little bit more on your evals because they're more of a year-to-year portal program. But 2, look at the schedule. Look at how it's done. And the other part too is he hired some guy from the Packers that is going to be doing some of the number side of stuff, the contracts.
Jair Alexander?
I forget what his name is. I think his last name is Brandt, maybe. But you don't have to worry about Vince getting loopholed out of contracts. They've got somebody to do that for him.
Justin Rowland says the U of L Vince stuff has been in the works for a while, same that we had said. He is hearing that the base pay of $1.1 to $1.4 million, somewhere in that ballpark, which is similar to Kentucky, with 30% of donations he brings in. And he says he doesn't know if that's final, but just what he had been hearing.
It's a decent little incentive to fundraise.
Which, again, if you're Vince and you're a people person and you like going out and getting wine and having a nice steak and entertaining people, and now you get 30% of the cut once they write that big old check, if you're Vince, it's like, okay, yeah, I guess I'll do that. Or I can go be around a miserable football team that's about ready to win 3 games and everybody's going to get fired in front of an empty stadium. Like, I can understand where Vince is coming from. Doesn't mean I'm not going to poke some fun at him.
Oh, yeah.
For some of the things that he said and did.
Which, by the way,
I'm going to be rooting for him to lose every game. But I can understand why he did it as much as it sucks.
Terrible timing for Justin Rowland to go backpacking with his
New Mexico. I'd love to go to.
It looks great.
I don't know if I want to go backpacking in New Mexico,
especially this time of year.
Yeah.
Probably a little hot, but not being around for this story breaking, it's gonna be tough. But hey, Drew Franklin, he's 2 for 2 last year. He went on vacation. Cal goes to Arkansas. This year goes on vacation. Vince goes to Louisville. Maybe just Drew, can we go on vacation in the middle of the coaching carousel? Timing might not hurt your recruiting so much. Maybe we can talk about that and much more. We're going to get your text on the text line too, 502-414-1450.
We've got about 20 seconds. The U of L fan says, hey guys, appreciate the insight and the response to my previous text. You'll have a lot more reasonable response to this news than Matt Jones did. And that texter also said, though, a couple texts about us and to the Rutherford show.
Ooh.
Said, I thought that I wanted to get help from you. Do you have any good prank ideas for KRC?
Oh.
Hey, don't prank us. And he also says, I'm sorry, but did TJ really say on Running a Roman that Mark Pope had a better bench than the platoon team did? I said deeper bench, and it most certainly is a deeper bench. All right, we'll be back. This is Kentucky Roll Call on Big X Sports Radio.
Kentuckiana's only locally owned sports talk. The Big X, AM 1450 and 96.
say over? I ain't heard no fat lady.
Welcome back for hour 2 of Kentucky Roll Call
Nothing is over until we decide it is.
with Walker and Roush.
We're just getting started, bro.
Welcome back. Hour number 2, Kentucky Roll Call here on Big X Sports Radio. 96.1 FM, 1450 AM. You've probably heard the commercials. We're down to just the last few Big X Sports Radio golf cards. Father's Day is this weekend somehow, Roush. How is that?
That's crazy.
Wasn't it just Mother's Day?
It's also off. Normally, St. Paul's Picnic is Father's Day weekend, and something on the calendar screwy so that we're off a week. St. Paul's isn't until next weekend. Father's Day's this weekend. I'm upside down.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because St. Raphael's Picnic is always Father's Day weekend, and it is this weekend.
Oh, wow. So the South End ones are the ones that shuffled the deck.
Mount Carmel's this weekend.
Yeah, in St. Lawrence. So, like, all of the South End ones are a week behind the East End schedule.
How about that? Picnic
Crazy.
season. But if you want your Big X Sports Radio golf card for your dad, for yourself, for whoever, you may run out if you don't get them by the end of this week. BigXSportsRadio.com, under $25 around at Park Mammoth, Valley View, Wooded View, Elk Run, Old Capitol, Christmas Lake. It'd be a gorgeous day today to go play, but there's more good weather this week. BigXSportsRadio.com to lock in your Big X Sports Radio golf card. All right, the news of the day, obviously, Vince Marrow going to Louisville, leaving Kentucky, and Mark Stoops behind. A lot of texters are texting about it. We'd love to hear from you on the text line, 502-414-1450. We are streaming on YouTube. Shout out to birthday boy Shay. He is on the YouTube stream.
Shout out to Shay. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. And we got a lot more text. But, Roush, where do you want to go to start hour number 2?
I want to congratulate Stephen Peaks, Murray State Racers.
Murray State Racers.
Going to the College World Series. I need you to enlighten me on what happened, though, because I saw our group chat. I was a little busy last night. In between, more phone calls than I'm used to making, so the phone calls were taking up time. We also had our last T-ball game, and Frank pooped on the potty, so we got to have an ice cream party last night. So huge night at the Roush house. I was unable to watch any of the baseball game at all, but it sounded like there was a lot of drama going down to the last out.
It was a great game. I loved watching it. College baseball is awesome, and for reasons just like that. You had West Virginia playing at LSU this weekend, and I don't know how many people they had, but it looked like 20,000 people down in Baton Rouge, and the stadium was full, and it just looked like a professional baseball game. And then you have Murray State playing at Duke for the final spot in Omaha, and Duke's baseball setup, Roush, it is not like LSU's, as you would imagine. That being said, comparatively, it may as well be Baton Rouge or Yankee Stadium compared to what Murray State plays in. And you've got these two teams, one, kind of a Cinderella in its own right, Duke baseball, hadn't been to the College World Series since 1961. And then Murray State, which is just a Cinderella, trying to become only the four seed to ever go to the College World Series. It's not too unsimilar to a 16 or 15 seed making a Final Four. It's just crazy to think that it could happen. Murray State gets blown out in Game 1 of the Super Regional at Duke. Incredible that they even made it that far. Came out of the Oxford Regional, beating Ole Miss. Western Kentucky was kind of a trendy Cinderella pick. They didn't do it. Murray State did. Get blown out in Game 1 in Durham. All right, that's probably the end of the show. They do the blowing out in Game 2, Roush. And that's, all right, hold on here. We talked about it yesterday that they can pretty much out-hit. They can outscore some teams. But if it's a close game, and a low-scoring game, mind you, they're probably not going to win. So I turn on the TV. Murray State, actually, I got to see the first home run in the first inning. I had it on for that. Murray State went up 1-0. But I have it on. Murray State's down 3-2. I think it's the 7th inning. And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, Roush, we just talked about this game, and I said if it's low scoring, Murray State's not going to win. Here they are in a low-scoring game, losing. Darn it, they're probably not going to win. And I turned it on at just the most perfect time because Murray State hits a solo home run to tie it. The next inning, they hit a solo home run to go ahead. They get one more run in for a little insurance. Then Duke comes in and hits a solo homer. Then it goes to the bottom of the ninth.
Mm-hmm.
Murray State up 1.
On the road.
On the road. History on the line. And I think they get the first 2 outs relatively easy. Maybe they get 1 out easy and then one guy gets on. I think that's what it was. They get 1 out, one guy gets on, and seems like a nice little double play ball. Got to move quick here if you're Murray State. It's not a routine double play, but if you do what you're supposed to do, you're getting 2 outs, you're going to Omaha. They get the out at second, but they're moving a little slow. I'm thinking to myself watching, they're probably not going to get this in time. The Duke player slides into second. The Murray State player just falls on his face. He gets taken out. Can't even make the throw to first base, which probably would have been late. Probably. The ump instantly just raises his hands, says, runner interference. He's out at second. Wow. This runner's out, and he does his little hands to say game's over.
Oh, so they called both out.
The guy at second's out, and the runner who, well, the force out is out, but that runner, because he slid, the guy at running to first is out. That makes sense. I explained that wrong the first time.
No, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy sliding in because it was a dangerous slide. Mm-hmm. The guy that was running to first is out because they are assuming the play would have been made.
Since I don't have this in front of me, how much did this guy go out of his way to take out the second baseman?
When I was watching in real time, and obviously I'm rooting for Murray State because I'm an American, I'm a human, I've got blood in my veins. Mm-hmm. Like what it's Duke. Sports.
Yes.
Like, I'm not rooting for Duke. Not an idiot. So I'm instantly like, oh, that's runner interference. He's out. That should be a double play. Because the Murray State guy went down like a sack of frickin' potatoes. I mean, he just dropped.
Huge collision.
So I'm thinking, like, this is a great call. That Duke guy, he was nervous about the game ending, so he thought the ump's not going to call it, so I'm going to be aggressive here, and he got too aggressive. You go back and you watch the replay, it's a bad call. I mean, I don't like Duke, and I was rooting for Murray State, but you do not end a team's season calling that runner interference because it was a pretty normal slide.
Well, you know what, though?
He was trying to be aggressive, but it was a bad call.
Well, here's my thing. I believe that you should be totally allowed to slide and take out guys and stop double plays. Secondly, karma, it's a bitch. Take that, Duke. You've got years of great calls on your side. I don't care if it was in a different sport. Sorry, Charlie. Time for Cinderella to dance, and Murray State is racing to Omaha.
But they do overturn the call, unfortunately. After reviewing it, which it was pretty awkward because Murray State does like a half-assed dog pile. They're like, we won, we're going to Omaha. But the officials are instantly, or the Duke guy comes out, the manager comes out, and he's like, we're reviewing this. And the umps are like, all right, we're going to review this.
But did they still call the guy out at second?
The force out was out. Yeah.
Okay.
The guy that slid into second base, he was out by a country mile. He was just trying to interrupt the throw, make it a little difficult.
Good gamesmanship, in my opinion.
So they go and they review it. We see the replay, and it's probably a good call, or it's probably a bad call. They need to overturn this. They do. So that guy gets to go to first base. The batter gets to go to first. There's 2 outs, and everybody and their mother is thinking Duke is winning this game now. This is the most Duke thing in the world. Mm-hmm. They get a second chance. Murray State's already celebrated a little bit. And in all seriousness, can you imagine how difficult that'd be for Murray State? Like, some of you all already got into a dog pile. You already were dreaming big. You already thought that you did it. You're going to Omaha. Yeah. And then now you have to go find another out.
One more out.
And if this guy on first base touches home, you're automatically going to extra innings. And if this dude at home finds a way to touch home, then it's over. And your season's over. And you had already just started dog piling. So that'd be a really tough spot. Luckily for Murray State, the Duke guy, just a soft grounder right to the first baseman. He steps on first. That is officially official, the third out, and the Murray State Racers are going to Omaha, making history. The Commonwealth of Kentucky sending 2 teams. Murray State, the Commonwealth's team, and the Buck Cards will also be out there. Different brackets, so unless they were to meet in the championship, you won't see Louisville take on Murray State. Murray State gets to open up against not an SEC team, which is great. You're going to have Arkansas versus LSU in the bottom half of that bracket, and then they will take on UCLA. So that is a very tough pod for Murray State. Louisville got the easier of the two, although Louisville's not cake by any stretch. They get Oregon State, who's very good, and then the winner of that will take on Arizona and College of Coastal Carolina, Coastal Carolina versus Arizona, Louisville versus Oregon State, LSU versus Arkansas, and Murray State versus UCLA. There are your 8 teams. That's the field. Double elimination in those 2 respective pods. So Murray State and Louisville both at minimum get 2 games. I know there are 8 teams there, Roush, but this is theoretically the big one, so really only 7 teams are competing for the College World Series because we know Dan McDonald can't win the big one.
Oh, no, of course not. I mean, come on. Steve McDonald, that's what he does. He loses the big one.
That was a really fun baseball game. I cannot wait to watch Murray State this weekend. Expectations are low, but I said the exact same thing going into the regional, certainly going into the super regional. I couldn't tell you anything about Murray State, but when you've got a coach, Roush, that is also the grounds crew, and you've got a team that is also the tarp crew, and your stadium holds about 500 people, but you're going to Omaha all the same, and you're part of the Jello Shot Challenge, let's go Racers.
They have the longest odds to win the World Series at plus 4,000. Louisville, second longest, plus 1,600.
I think that's probably fair.
Arkansas and LSU are the 2 favorites.
Absolutely. The winner of that game is... You probably should just bet both Arkansas and LSU.
Kind of wild that
you won't get odds anywhere close based on who wins that game. Like, whoever wins that game probably may even be in the minuses moving forward.
Just wild, though, that they had to get... I guess that's the way the national seeding worked?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So the bracket's predetermined based on the national seeds, but if a couple pods just get busted...
Which happened.
It did. Yeah. And they don't... Do you want them to reseed in Omaha? We talked about this last year for the Batcats.
I'm actually against reseeding in almost everything just because it's easier on my brain. So I'm good with it.
I don't think it's the most fair to not reseed. Like, I think if you really want the true champion, the best team, then you probably should reseed to make it easier for the teams that had better regular seasons.
Yeah.
But I'm with Roush. Screw it. The bracket's the bracket. If one side just gets absolutely chaotic, then good for that side. And if one side's totally chalky, then it went the way you thought it may go anyways.
It's what I hate the most about the NFL playoffs, but it's such a smaller deal that my brain can handle it. You know, like, I haven't really thought twice about it. But nevertheless, I digress.
Murray's Game 1 starter, Nick Shuddy, out of Male High School.
Yeah, P. Diddy from the city let us know. Oh, wait.
Shout out to my wife's alma mater. Shout out to Corey Price's alma mater.
Shout out to my wife's school. Maybe she taught him. Think she did?
Probably. Does she know him?
I don't know. I'm going to ask.
Well, go shut him down. Shuddy. I remember Shuddy from high school baseball. Probably losing to old St. X, all things considered. 502-414-1450 is that text line, and the texter says, how funny would it be if Matt, Lemon, and the whole Worship Vince gang transferred to being Louisville radio folks? It is a reminder not to get, like, super buddy. I mean, that whole crew got 2 reminders in a matter of 3 years that being old buddy with the coach can backfire. But at least with the Vince one, everybody kind of kept their humanity in the whole ordeal. Like, oh, this is a good friend. We don't like the job that he's taken. We're going to be rooting for him to lose. Yeah, we'll give you a noogie when we see you. But they all like money. They're all friends. They're all good buds. I don't think you have to worry about all of them becoming Louisville fans.
I don't know, TJ. Am I a closet Louisville fan? Am I really a sleeper cell for Jeff Brom?
It wouldn't surprise me.
Many people are wondering.
Wouldn't surprise me. You have tailgated for 0 UK football games. You haven't been to a UK football game as a fan in like 15 years.
Oh, Louisville, man, I'm there all the time.
You're L1C4, but I think that's why a lot of people like this show is you get a little red, you get a little blue. Both politics and sports.
I am legitimately looking forward to the Friday night party deck when they play Clemson. It'll be a good time. I think it's right before Kentucky. Oh man, I actually think I'm not going to be going now. I think we booked to stay in Nashville at Vandy. Vandy game's the next day.
Can I tell you how funny I thought that Big Blue Bud tweet was from Buddy on Twitter?
I didn't see it. Well, I would like to laugh at it though. I like a good laugh.
That's one thing. Like the social media from Louisville and UK with the Vince stuff has just been all-timer stuff. Like yesterday on the internet and today on the internet, really funny days in this part of the country. But I had tweeted out that per Michael Bennett, Vince was asked by UK not to recruit Ohio anymore. And I said, what? Why? That's weird, because I do think that's weird. And Buddy said, we made one too many, another 3-star from Youngstown joke, so they decided to shut down the whole pipeline. And Matt Sack said, do we think if we keep making jokes about Stoops that he might become unmotivated? And Big Blue Bud said, it's going to take a lot more than a few jokes and losing the fan base and losing his best recruiter and his number 2 man and losing most of the team and losing all of his SEC games to make Mark, MF, and Stoops lose his motivation.
Oh, man. I also...
It just kept going. It's going to take more than a few jokes and losing the fan base and losing his best recruiter and losing his number 2 man and losing most of his team and losing all his SEC games. Because all those things have happened, folks. All things that have happened.
But Buddy had another good one. He said, Vince Merrill cites Mark Stoops' extreme motivation as a driving reason for departure from Kentucky. I've never seen him like this. It's more than Youngstown tough. It's Youngstown motivated. I really just don't think he needs me anymore.
I don't know if it's just like laughing through the pain that UK football is just going to be a disaster this year, but I've enjoyed it for now.
So I haven't really had enough time to see the U of L response. I obviously was too busy to listen to when Rutherford was live on air. He had to make one final Vince Merrill job joke.
A jobby joke.
Are Louisville fans like that? It's gotta be kind of weird for them, right? I mean, they didn't like the guy at all, and then now he's one of them. So how are they? Are they just dancing on UK's grave? Is that sort of the reaction?
Yeah, I think like in legitimate, just hey, we're U of L fans talking to one another. They're probably like, I'm not a huge fan of this guy. Mm-hmm. If Kentucky football was in a better spot, they would be out in the streets right now.
Yeah.
But I think they realize like Vince is just jumping a sinking ship. And while they're excited about the optics of the way that it looks, they realize the sting isn't really there.
There's not as much bite.
And I'll tell you this,
almost
Louisville
kicking
fans,
a dead dog.
if this dude, if Vince goes to Louisville the same way he was at UK the last 2 or 3 years, you will not be a huge fan of his. You may not even hear from him much, which is probably maybe the best for all parties involved.
That was what I was wondering,
but
TJ.
If he doesn't decide he wants to start working again and getting back to it, which again, change of scenery, new environment, winning a more winning culture than where he was at least where it was heading. Maybe those are all the things he needs as a shot in the arm to get back to being enthusiastic about his employment.
Okay.
But that wasn't the case, or seemingly wasn't the case at UK.
Where is Vince Marrow's first U of L interview? Like, what's the...
Oh, Diener, for sure.
Diener?
Yeah. Yeah, he'll do a morning hit with Diener. He'll speak very nicely about UK.
Well, so who's going to be his... Who are going to be his guys? Is he just going to talk to everybody? Like, how...
I think
that part's going to be fascinating too.
I think he'll.
He's just going to be like.
He's always had a good relationship with the rivals. I think he'll continue to have a good relationship with the rival U of L guy now.
He just does not strike me as a Jody Demling guy.
Well, yeah, I don't know about that.
Right. Because essentially, I mean, no offense to any of the other people, but I feel like Jody is the only one doing the hustling insider stuff.
Coming up next with Deputy Doofus, we've got the big dog.
Oh man. Oh gosh. Having that's here. The other part I thought of. this guy, he's going to be wearing Tom Jurich turtlenecks. That's kind of his look. He's going to be putting on Tommy J's turtleneck.
Well, we're going to see him around town.
Ooh, how long is it going to take for Luckett to run into him at Roosters? Because that's where they do the Brom Coaches show.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
You know? Luckett's kind of, yeah.
Louisville fan says, yeah, I think it's mostly dancing on UK's grave. He was very meh hire to us. The 1.4 million salary isn't exactly inspiring. Maybe if he brings a cut of the Kraft money with him, I'd change my mind. You stay away from our ham money, and you stay away from it right now.
That is our ham money.
It's our ham money.
Go find some bacon money or something. We have ham money.
No, you used to have pizza money until he got ran out of town, too.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've just got more eye doctor money than you know what to do with. How about another Lynn Family Stadium? The Vince Marrow Lynn Family Stadium Memorial Stadium for his move to Louisville. A texter says, Vince has always been about Vince. The worst part about this is having to hear so many fans say thanks for all he's done. Most beloved assistant ever. Blah, blah. Dude's been skating by on reputation for years. Good riddance. I'm more of that. Again, from a personal standpoint, like, go live a good life and be happy, buddy. On the sports side of things, good riddance.
I will say, though, just from an objective, most recognizable assistant coaches in UK athletics history, and I'm not talking about ones that became promoted, right, because Tubby ultimately was the head coach, and Billy Donovan became the head coach at Florida, it would be Vince, Kenny Payne, Bernadette Maddox Locke. I get the hyphens mixed up because Patino hired a woman assistant? That's crazy. And then maybe Joe B. Hall on rep staff? I guess Leonard Hamilton on Joe B. Hall's staff. But, like, from a purely recognizable...
Did you mention Joel Justice on John Calipari's staff?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's good. That's good. You shouldn't have. I was just making sure you didn't.
Because, like...
Tony Barbie?
Vince and Kenny Payne had a lot of similarities. And if Vince is anything like Kenny Payne was at Louisville, thanks, Vince!
That's actually beautifully said.
Thank you. They're very similar.
The last time Louisville took a beloved Kentucky assistant, he ruined the program.
Yeah?
I curse you, Vince Marrow!
I did a hit with Peter Burns this morning, and he was like, what are the chances?
The guy from The Simpsons?
Mr. Burns had a different first name, I think. The SEC Network, SEC Morning guys, and he was like, what are the is there a less than 0% chance that Vince Marrow is a sleeper cell? And Bill Belichick did it. Kenny Payne may have done it for John Calipari. Who's to say that this is not the beginning of the end for Jeff Brom at Louisville?
This is the beginning of the end.
I don't think I know that one.
It's the same one I sang earlier. It's the exact same one. Billy Strings.
I need the strings, though. Like that, you hear the strings. That's what gets you to Billy Strings.
I don't think he's a sleeper cell, but yeah, it'd be fine if he was. I certainly wouldn't mind. Texter says at U of L, you forgot about the fitness center and suntan bed money.
Fitness center.
Yeah, it's the Planet Fitness Lynn Family Stadium Center.
I have a friend who loves that they have a first yearology sign very prominently when you're going over that overpass on Central Avenue.
I don't know if I'm familiar with it.
They have like a little
place
clock,
myself in that
and
spot.
it's smaller. There's like multiple ads, but one of them's for urology. So gotta.
Texter says, leave it alone, in my opinion, regarding
College World Series.
College World Series reseeding. People talk about it in the Final Four a lot, too, about reseeding come the Final Four. Those teams earn the higher seed by beating who they beat to get there. Not totally true for what it was worth. Like, you could have chaos in one part of your bracket that you didn't have to overcome. Pretty rare. I get the sentiment of what you're saying. I'm just saying you don't necessarily... Just because it's easier for you now doesn't mean it was tougher for you earlier. It could have also been easier for you earlier and easier for you now. In any bracket situation. So just pushing back on that. But I don't like, whatever. The brackets are what they are. If it's chaotic, it's chaotic. And that's what you're going to roll with.
Sounds like the big dog got his little feelings hurt. I think you need to play more barking dog sound. This is for Jeter. Just for you, buddy. He's a big fan.
TJ and Nick, I know you're trying to defend Barnhart, but the whole Stoops tenure, Jimmy Sexton has ran circles around Mitch Barnhart, has happened at least 3 times. I won't disagree on that. I'm just saying, I don't think Mitch Barnhart thought.
Oh, man.
I don't think Mitch Barnhart thought that. Quiet down, please.
Oh my gosh. All right, we need a new dog. This one's clearly in pain.
It's a cute one. I won't disagree about the contract stuff and Jimmy Sexton. I'm just saying I don't think Mitch Barnhart ever envisioned Mark Stoops just quitting, where he was going to be like, oh my gosh, my head coach isn't even trying anymore. I don't think he ever thought that would happen with Mark Stoops. I was always against the huge, big contracts. Back in like 2013 and 2014, you could understand it a little bit, just why not? But extending from 2026 to 2031 in 2022, that was a mistake.
I do think it's crazy that I'm sure some of the decision making was, if you look back on the recent years, we were building the Colossus of Stoops, right? I mean, that run is the best run of football in our lifetime.
It's been quite the roller coaster of a ride.
Yeah, and so you don't anticipate the bottom dropping out, and even if you do drop out a little bit, you're still probably going to bowl games, right? So, and I think the other part is that Mitch probably believed that that goodwill would last a lot longer if it did bottom out. But we just don't, sports fans in general don't have the patience that we once used to. And secondly, I understand the fear of Kentucky football fans, which is that Stoops got us here. We can't, we can't let it go back to where we were. I think the way Luckett put it yesterday, TJ, was with Joker, we were in the trailer park down the street. Now Kentucky's at least in the neighborhood of being with the best of the best in this sport, and we don't want to get evicted. And that's the fear among Kentucky football fans with Mark Stoops right now.
That was the rant I tried to go on in hour 1. Like, stop doing this to your legacy, Stoops. If he just leaves when Texas A&M tries to get him, it's everything is better now. Things are different. We view Stoops differently. He wanted out. It just would have been perfect. But A&M, they wised up to it, unfortunately. I don't want to make fun of U of L just because it feels natural. They've got a great football season upcoming. They're in the College World Series. We're going to push back a little bit. The Deputy Doofus return of the Cardinal tweet was embarrassing.
Wait, what? Huh?
You remember their year of the Cardinal?
Yeah.
He was trying to do it again, and he's trying to do it again with this tweet. Well, you know what? It's time for a commercial break.
Ooh.
I'll tell you about that tweet. We'll have some fun at Louisville's expense because why not? This is Kentucky Roll Call on Big X Sports Radio. One final segment coming up next on the Big X.
Just the Cats with Michael Bennett.
It's hard to believe we gone from last year watching those Jackson Robinson videos of him arriving and living in Lexington now to he's
502-259-8085. That's 502-259-8085.
Do you, I mean, I do think it's, I just wanted to make sure everybody's clear. You expect to be in Lexington next year?
Yes. Yep. Yes.
Welcome back. One final segment, Kentucky Roll Call here on Big X Sports Radio. Get your text into the show, 502-414-1450, and get that hungry belly of yours into a Salsaritas. 3 locations in the area. Middletown, it's got a drive-through. St. Matthews, covered patio. And Shepherdsville out in Bullitt County. Download that Salsaritas app. They can cater any party too big, even if your office is a little smaller today. Not as many mouths to feed, potentially. It doesn't matter. No party too big or too small for Salsaritas. They'd love your business, and you will love their food. I promise you that, whether it's for lunch or dinner or that catering that I mentioned. Download that app and get rewards, discounts, all sorts of fun treats from Salsaritas. Wildly addictive chips, hot, spicy salsa. It's so good, it's in their name. Salsaritas, Middletown, St. Matthews, Bullitt County. Check them out today. We've got more text into the show. That was the clip from the interview from December, I believe, Vince Marrow with Kentucky Sports Radio, where that answer, and you expect to be with UK next year? Pause. Confused. Yeah, I guess. Maybe. Unless you all hires me before then. That's the news of the day, Roush. We've talked about it every which way to Sunday, but Louisville's in a good spot, and they're having fun. We can't let them be too excited, right?
No, because they are the low-down, dirty Cardinals. And they also just
so delusional.
They don't know how to do this rivalry thing either very well.
They've had a good athletic year, and there's nothing wrong with saying that. It's been solid for them. But let's chill out, Mark Blankenbaker.
Return of the Cardinal?
The volleyball team, national runner-up. Incredible season for U of L volleyball. I'm going to add some of my own commentary here.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball team to the College World Series. That was great by Dan McDonald.
Surprising.
In the region of the number 1 overall seed. You come out of that region. You get to host a super regional, dramatic. You win that. That's an awesome season for U of L baseball. 9-win football season.
Good. But
wasn't it under their over-under total?
You also won fewer games than you did the year before.
Yeah, you won fewer games than you did the year before.
Yeah, the year before you were in the ACC championship game. You were not in the ACC championship game.
That's a step backwards.
Yeah.
Women's basketball, 13-5 in the ACC. Hasn't that program been to Final Fours, Roush?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, they have.
The year of the Cardinal was a 13-5 ACC record?
13-5 in the ACC.
And then
maybe if you said 25-5 overall, like 25-5,
30-win season or something like that.
That sounds like 5th in the league.
13-5 in women's basketball in the ACC. That's like.
Is the ACC even good?
Yeah, we had a decent year. We went 13-5. The ACC is not good unless it's baseball. And then last, his accomplishment for the year of the return of the Cardinal, the return of the year of the Cardinal, the year return of the Cardinal, was men's basketball finished number 21.
Wow. Incredible.
Deputy Doofus, that's a program that has 2 national championships, mind you. And you're celebrating an outside the top 20 finish? But we had only won 12 games the previous 2 years. And don't you forget it, buddy, okay? And don't you forget it. And you're never beating Kentucky in basketball. And Mark Pope's going to come into the Yum Center on November 11th and Jalen Lowe and Otega Owe and Mo D, you'll see. You'll see. But listen, a volleyball national runner-up and your team going to the College World Series are incredible accomplishments. All but a few. All but one volleyball team would trade that season, and all but, 8 baseball teams would trade that season. But a 9-win football season coming off a double-digit win season the year before. Women's basketball going 13-5 in the ACC. And your basketball team failing to finish in the top 20. Quit. Just quit it. A texter on the text line says, "Good morning, my friends. I've been sitting on a few thoughts for a minute for no good reason, but had to get my text in for today's show because I know it'll be an electric factory today." First off, TJ, buddy, you're looking good. Looking slim and trim, sports talker. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. Secondly, Roush, I've heard you keep saying, who are they selling as far as the football goes?
Uh-huh.
And why not lean into Hardaway as well as the face? I know that I'm biased. He's at a premium position. He had a pretty good year last year. And who else do they have returning on defense like that? Lastly, I know that this simply yet another canary in the coal mine for our beloved program. Well said. Vince, you Frito smacking, illiterate tweeting, underwhelming talent developing, emotionally immature, piss poor friend. You're a coward for leaving right before the season like this, and I hope you choke. But don't die on a phallic-shaped Jeff Ruby steak. You are a BUM bum, says Alex from Colga.
Wow.
He's saying it with his chest, everybody. Good for you, Alex.
Really brought in the haymakers there at the end.
Finished strong. I didn't know if I was allowed to say that on radio, but I think most of it passes board.
Yeah.
Love the enthusiasm, love the emotion, Alex. Good to hear from you. Hope things down in Colga are going well.
Send some good players up here.
What do you think about JQ Hardaway?
He had one good game. He might not start this year if he doesn't get his stuff together. So, yeah, you can't sell that. No offense to him.
It's like it was like a great text, but Roush is just like, yeah, but you're the part about sports now.
Yeah, I mean, it just.
Who would Nichols start over him?
Nichols is definitely starting. It's him or DJ Waller.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, they're both impressive players.
Gotcha.
JQ's issue is all about tackling. He's not a willing tackler. In the game against Ole Miss against Trey Harris, he was awesome because he was a willing tackler, and you just didn't see that throughout the entire season. And some of that is just maturity, growing up. Like, he should take steps forward, but that's not a sellable face of the program. It's just not.
I'm nothing but a big old dum-dum, but seems like the secondary should be okay.
Secondary should be pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like some depth concerns with safety, and you wonder what the ceiling is there. But, man, I'm really high on Teron Nichols. That could end up being one of Vince's last star players. Like, he's going to be a starter. That kid's good. He feels like Maxwell Harrison.
All right. Well, maybe I don't know. Like, I think the secondary could be all right. Stoops has never really had a bad unit at linebacker in his tenure at UK. And Roush, I'm sure you're going to be like, actually, that 20 blah blah blah.
To your point, though, yeah, it's been a strength, and that might be the shakiest spot going into this entire year.
But if we want to give Stoops the benefit of the doubt, it's normally not a liability.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of worry about up front, which is, I'm told, important, the trenches. But I do think you can make a case that linebacker, while the names don't really jump off the page, it should be decent. Secondary looks good, just good. Not even just like, that's not really a stretch necessarily. I just don't know if in the trenches, Roush, I don't know if I can follow you there.
The pass rush in particular is just like it's been an issue. They don't get the benefit of the doubt there. It's not been a strength since they haven't had Josh Allen. Now, they went out and got twitchier guys from the portal. And, another Vince guy, Marquise Humphreys-Grace, like that, I think that guy's going to be really good. I think David Goose is going to be good. But I'm getting to not wide receiver position bad, but I'm like, I'm not going to definitively state that the pass rush is going to be good until I see it with my own two eyes. So,
and if it is, maybe you could have something where, hey, this defense, if you can keep a team UK football offense, if you all can get in the 20s, you may have a chance because the defense is good enough. Maybe. There's your optimism for the day. Georgia basketball just tweeted out their roster for 25-26. It's not a great team. Somto Cyril is back. They got the Catchings fella who's good, Cannon Catchings. Losing Silas Dimmery, though, they're just going to be bottom of the SEC again. However, Blue Kane is back for another year. What the hell? How long has Blue Kane been playing basketball?
See, but I don't remember him before this year. Because you would think a name like Blue Kane, what did Jimmy Dykes call him? That sounds like a dog food.
This will be his junior year, so he was only a sophomore last year. So we've got plenty of Blue Kane to come. I cannot wait to beat that Georgia team, though. I didn't really appreciate that game in Athens so much last year.
No, did not like it whatsoever.
Thanks for the text, Alex. It's good to hear from you. I hope everything's going well. John here. By gosh, KRC, this does suck to see Vince go. However, maybe this is the beginning of a new direction for the football program. I've been so excited, keep thinking about basketball and Coach Pope, that I was not paying attention to the football program at all. I might be crazy for that take. We'll got to go talk to you later.
Nope, totally fair.
It's a natural progression, John,
yep.
When something is not looking so good, but then just a couple months later, you got the golden goose back there. It's natural. I hate it, though. I don't want it. Like, to feel like we're punting on a football season is disgusting. It truly makes me sick to the bottom of my stomach. And I'm going to be doing the postgame show, so I hope this team's going to surprise a lot of us. You better beat Toledo, and then let's just see what happens in week 2. But this isn't a fun spot to be, Roush. And that was the nice thing about Stoops, is just you never really felt like you were in this spot. It was it may not be great. You may not be talking about winning the SEC or finishing top 10, but you know you're going to be competitive. You know you're not going to get punked. You know you're going to show some fight, and you know you're going to have a group of people that are connected and going to play hard for one another. And maybe we get back to that with this team. That's all that they were saying in the offseason. I hope so. But last year was the exact opposite of that. It was terrible. It was really hard to watch. Left a bad taste in our mouth, and they've done nothing to rinse out that disgusting taste of the 2024 season. TJ and Nick, shout out to Alex from Colga for the reminder of the Jeff Ruby special. Can't wait to take my wife there for the phallic-shaped steak for our anniversary, hoping that doesn't turn her into a vegetarian. Hope you two have a great day. Hey, Jeff, I'm just reading these texts for what it's worth. So I hope you'll have us back this December. I go to Jeff Ruby's once a year. It's pretty good.
Man, y'all can't be giving Doofus the time of day like this. Of all the media dweebs, he is the absolute worst on the planet.
I almost respect just how shameless he is. Like, I get embarrassed when I'm wrong, or, everybody's had bad takes, Roush. We're not immune to them. But I don't like marinating in mine. He seems to enjoy it.
I just don't know, like...
In the media game, when your goal is to get attention and to be noticed, he does a decent job of it from time to time.
I just can't imagine being like, man, I can't wait to hear what Mark has to say this morning. Sure, it's going to be a sensible, well-thought-out take. Whatever.
Maybe that's why our recruiting has dropped off, especially this year where other teams have 12 to 22 commitments and we have 2.
Oh, now 3. Shout out Prince Gene.
Shout out Prince Gene. I can't wait till Prince Gene's senior day. I want to walk with him on his senior day at Kroger Field. Maybe we can get Alan Calipari to come out with us as well. We have 2 commitments. Obviously, his heart and soul wasn't with UK. We now know it was somewhere else. There's a place in sports hell for coaches and players who switch their allegiance to a team's bitter rival. Who's your favorite and least favorite switchover in the rivalry? You know who I reached out to today and did not hear back from?
No. Who?
I slid in to the detail. Oh, that would have been good. I should have done that. I may have his number, actually. Lamar Thomas. How funny would it have been on today's show if we would have had Lamar Thomas on?
Yeah, and there was a lot more. It would have been funny
for like 2 minutes, of course. But
I feel like it was very... he would have had some thoughts.
Oh, and we would have just been like, hey, Lamar, what's it like switching sides in the rivalry? He probably would have bashed Stoops. He probably would have bashed Petrino. He probably would have taken credit for Lamar Jackson's NFL success. It would have been awesome, dude. We got to get him on.
Because Louisville fans were very bitter when he left.
So bitter.
Because he brought Lamar Jackson.
And they were kind of doing what UK fans are doing for Vince. He was a good recruiter, but he's not. He had one thing. Now he's just collecting paychecks. He's washed up. He's not motivated. They were right, though.
Oh, yeah. And I used to hear a story, too, that he would just check his
We're right, too.
pay slips just before practice. He'd be like, whew, this is why I'm doing it.
That's hilarious.
Guy's a character, man. But you know what? It was really fun when we beat Lamar and he's over there throwing L's down like that. Them having to eat that. Oh.
And then we got the Lamar Thomas trash can game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a great, not like I was disappointed with that Saturday for UK football, but looking back historically, what a day for the rivalry.
Great day for the rivalry.
An incredible day for the rivalry. A texter on the text line says, would you trade the current duo of Mark and Mark for John and John? Assuming hypothetically Calipari was the UK coach last year and never left, and you would have gone Summerall before the football portal came and went. That's a great hypothetical. And yes, I would go John for John instead of Mark for Mark. And I love Mark Pope, and I would love having Mark Pope as the head coach at UK. I've never been more wrong about anything in my life than poo-pooing that hire. Truly, truly never been more wrong about anything. That being said, UK football has no life right now. You'd have life with Summerall. You'd still have life with basketball. It'd be tumultuous and it would be chaotic, but it would exist.
No, but being in basketball purgatory is significantly worse than football purgatory. At Kentucky, definitely different elsewhere, but I could not do more John Calipari. It just would have been. But
theoretically, Cal went to a Sweet 16 last year.
Yeah, but like Kentucky, just the toxicity of it all, especially between the fan base. Whereas like right now, we're just doing this Vince stuff is going to pass, and this time next week we're going to be talking about Mark Pope and what kind of we'll just move on and not talk about Kentucky football. I think we would have been stuck talking about
I don't know if that makes the
mid-ass Kentucky basketball forever, and it would have been awful.
I don't know if that makes the point you think that on June 17th, per you, we're going to be talking UK basketball. I think that's the issue. And if you had John Summerall, I bet you'd be talking UK football on June 17th.
But here, my thing is, too, is the John Summerall door isn't completely shut yet.
I hope not.
And
I got asked today on radio, why does everybody just assume he's going to say yes? And I was like, it's not safe to assume that, but he's obviously going to be the first call. You're going to throw everything at him.
Yeah, and it's not like that wasn't a chance when Stoops flirted with A&M, that they weren't already working back channels. So, but that's still a ways down the road. There are some who think oh man, now that Vince is gone, if Stoops leaves early, he might. If Stoops sucks right away, he might get fired midseason, and I don't think that's the case. And I just want to remind people that not only would you be paying $36 million within 6 months, 2 months, 60 days, I believe. You're 60 or 90. But Mitch Barnhart right now is whipping up money. He's trying to raise $20 million for the rev share. You mean you're going to have to raise an even larger bill to fire somebody? That's not.
Well, when do you get that SEC check? That comes in July, right?
I think so, but some of it, we don't find out about it until the SEC has to file their tax returns.
I'm out of that big SEC check. I'm going to take $52 million just off to the side. No reason. $20 million for the nil, maybe another $32 million just in case anything pops up in December.
The thing is it was 50 before the new ESPN deal. It's going to be closer to 70.
Yeah, good. All right, so we're only working with $18 million.
Do some penny pinching.
Yeah, do some penny pinching. Times are going to be tough.
JMI, crank out some more videos.
We'll be going lunch exclusively at Ovid's this semester, folks. Actually, Ovid's is very expensive.
Yeah, Ovid's has been close, buddy.
Good. Ovid's was so overrated. The spicy beef wrap was terrible.
Chipotle chicken was better.
Glad that it's gone. K-Layer in the original Buff Chick tins. Dugan texted our boss. He said, a Stoops buyout, not a problem. It is, and that's why Mitch wasn't going to fire him regardless of the buyout after this past season. He was going to give him a friend pass for what it was worth. But
it's a problem.
It seems like the mood going into this season, and if the season goes the way, unfortunately, people think it's going to go, you won't have to weigh, it's expensive versus do we keep him? it'll be a no-brainer that you won't have a supporting football program if you do keep the guy. So you'll have to move on from him.
I disagree.
I don't know how you can disagree on that at 156.
What's the difference between $36 million and $42 million?
$36 million and $42 million?
I think that was what it was last year.
I thought it was 32 after this year.
No, I think it's 36 and a half.
Okay, $4 million.
Okay, but my overall point is like, I don't. If he thinks that it was just a one-year blip, which most people disagree with, but if that's in Mitch's eyes, then.
But don't you think he could see another season of football and say, "Oh, okay, it wasn't a one-year blip. Like this is really bad."
I think all of Mitch Barnhart's messaging is that he's nowhere near as close to putting Mark Stoops on the hot seat as 85% of the fan base.
You're right about that in the sense that, like, I think in Mitch's brain right now, he's looking at this season as like, all right, just if you go to a bowl game, you're good by me.
Oh yeah. And if you go to a bowl game, that is a huge success.
But I think he's going to see those crowds. He will, if he doesn't hear it yet, he will see it with his own eyes once the season starts. We're doing a great job on the text line today, and you all are doing a great job, so we're all appreciative of that. Texter says, Cal and Patino getting the Cats away from Rupp and throw in Kelsey, too. Very interesting. What's your all's picks? 3-0, 2-1?
Probably 2-1. I mean, those are going to be 3 top 15 teams.
I don't think UK will go into Arkansas and beat Cal in the Hog Hen, but could be wrong about that. I guess we'll call it the pig pen. And but that, SEC basketball, it was weird like it last year. Was it Florida went into Auburn and won, and then in the Iron Bowl games, they won on the road each time. Mm-hmm. So sometimes that can be strange. But I think Kentucky's just a better team than Louisville. So Louisville's going to have a home court advantage. That will help them, obviously. I'm going to take Kentucky in that game just because I think that they are.
Well, it's the logos. We've seen it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to probably take Arkansas in that one just because they're at home. And Arkansas is going to be really good. I have them number 3 in the SEC for what it's worth. I have them a top 8 team in college basketball. They're going to be really good. It's not like it's just, Cal's got revenge on his mind or something like that.
While we're at it, can I just say that ESPN needs to chill the hell out? And we're going to go off there, but why am I getting app notifications that Kentucky's Bluegrass Miracle in 2002 makes our list of top college football plays of the 2000s? I don't need this right now, ESPN.
Yeah, it's kind of messed up.
What the? Why are you giving Kentucky fans that push notification? Give it to LSU fans, not us. I don't want to see that. Gosh.
All right, got my first T-ball practice tonight. Very exciting stuff.
Should be fun. I can give you some maybe some tips.
Yeah, I would love that. Yeah, I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, thanks everybody for texting in. We'll be back at it again at noon. Coming up next is Running with Roman and then the Mike Rutherford Show, which should be very, very interesting today. This is Kentucky Roll Call. Big X Sports.
Tell me that you love me, yeah. Tell me something good. Tell me that you like it.